YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. After day 2 of the NFL Combine with the offensive linemen and the running backs, I'm going over my winners and losers. We'll take a look at these players' stock. Where did they bump themselves up to in the draft, in my opinion? We're going to break it all down and doing this video for every single day of the Combine. So we have day 1 already up on the channel. Plenty of NFL coverage throughout free agency and the NFL draft here. We have 2 channels, this channel and the Goat House Plus. That's a newer channel there. So click that link in the description and in the comments. It'll bring you to that channel. Please subscribe. Trying to match the subscriber rate on both channels, so we need your help there. Twitter and Instagram, daily posts, always talking football, answering any questions on Twitter, and talking live throughout the Combine there. So those are must follows. You'll find the link down below. And then something new that we started, the Goat House Podcast, you'll find on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and more coming to that. Hoping to add a new episode almost every single weekend. And if you go to our Patreon, which you'll see a link in the description, plenty of extra NFL content, as well as the Goat House Podcast in video form. So pretty interesting stuff there. So who is the biggest winner from the offensive lineman? Well, there's a couple of them. We're going to start with Tristan Works, known as a first round lock for an offensive lineman. Way more athletic than any of us thought. We did see, when I kind of talked about him, within mock drafts, the thing I always mentioned, the thing that stood out for me on film was, constantly just getting downfield in front of the running backs, on the slip screens and the swing passes to running backs, and constantly getting downfield and making some big time blocks. So that shows athleticism. I just didn't think there was this much athleticism, being this big, running a 4.85. That's impressive. That's the thing that's going to stand out the most because people overreact from 40s. It's impressive still, but the vertical is ridiculous. 36.5-inch vertical, which is, a basketball type player vertical. Like, it's ridiculous for that big of a man, 320 pounds, to get 36.5 inches. And what does that mean? Do we see offensive linemen jump? No, we don't see them jump, but it shows how explosive they are. It shows the power in the legs, and it really relates to, blocking, driving ability. So, and we've seen him get downfield and make some big time blocks. 10-yard split, which is pretty important for offensive lineman. Best in the day, 169, best for the offensive lineman, which is great. So it shows the speed, but the quickness as well there in the 10-yard split. Which is important for the type of blocker Tristan Works is. Before, around that top 15 pick, you think he would, even though the Broncos may be in the market for, maybe more of a receiver, they're still looking for that left tackle possibly, and maybe a left guard. So I thought that was kind of the latest he would go. And now we're going to bump him up to that top 11. I don't think he gets by that Jets pick, maybe the Browns pick at pick number 10. There are some top tier offensive tackles, offensive linemen in this draft class. He is one of them. There is some talk about, him going to guard, which makes sense. His highlights are in run blocking moments, but I think he can play tackle. It really depends on the scheme. So that's kind of like the bottom line there, top 11. I think there's a chance he can go number 4 to the Giants. I really do. What do the Giants want to do first? They want to run the ball to open up the pass. It's what a lot of teams want to do, but it's very obvious that Dave Gettleman wants to do that. And when you have Saquon Barkley, it's pretty obvious that's what you should want to do. So you kind of get a 2-for-1 here, putting him out at a tackle position. It really helps Saquon Barkley get outside and be able to run downfield and use those swing passes Saquon Barkley. And he protects Daniel Jones, who does need some extra protection there. So I like him at tackle. The Giants, I think that's a possibility. He can go at 4. The bottom line is just the top 11. That's kind of just the back part. So very impressive day from Tristan Works, offensive line class. Very impressive. Another impressive guy, most likely the number 1 offensive lineman on most people's boards is Mekhi Becton, being 6'7", 364. Size is pretty overrated in the NFL. We all know that. It's appealing at times when you get, especially in an offensive line position, to get a guy this freakish of a size. And we all know scouts, GM, coaches put those guys at the top. But first, they have to show the things on tape, and they have to be athletic enough, and he really showed that. So that's why Mekhi Becton is very, very impressive, running a 5.10 40 time, which for his size is absurd. 1.77 10-yard split, one of the best on the day. I think the order, people will make the mistake, they see mock drafts and they'll see their actual draft, and the order the offensive linemen come off the board, and they kind of say that's the rankings. That's not the rankings. The teams want to find the best scheme fit for offensive line, and I think Mekhi Becton that I think could fit pretty much any scheme. And, being the athletic, profile that he is and the upside that he has, I think will put him at the top of most people's boards in terms of offensive linemen. And before, top 10, you think the Browns are the latest, and I think that at the latest now we're looking at the Chargers, who could be in the market for a quarterback or an offensive lineman. I think that's the latest they go. To me, the Chargers' biggest needs offensive line. But I think, kind of going back to the Giants, he has a chance to go at pick 4. He definitely has a chance. They'll be. I mean, that's an interesting spot if they keep their pick there and all the offensive linemen are on the board, as well as we'll say if Isaiah Simmons is on the board still, because Gettleman values the linebacker position. Isaiah Simmons is an absolute freak, and they also have a need there. That's going to be the most interesting pick to start there, in my opinion. People talk about the Lions, which is very interesting, but that's interesting because they could go Becton for left tackle to replace Solder. They could go Tristan Wirfs to play left or right, really. And same thing with Wirfs, who I think majority of the people out there is number one offensive tackle. So it's going to be very interesting. The athleticism of Becton and Wirfs will be very appealing. Wills will protect their quarterback there, Daniel Jones, maybe a little better, but the idea of the run blocking between, those two, the athletic freak guys, is what's going to be appealing to Dave Gettleman, as well as the linebacker, like I said. So that's very interesting. He can go there. And I kind of talked about on Twitter yesterday, the pick number 2 is pretty interesting. If I was a betting man, I'd say Chase Young as well as everyone else, because you can argue he's the best player in the draft. I got Joe Burrow number 1, Chase Young number 2 at the moment. But then it kind of brings into play that Trent Williams, it came out yesterday that he needs a new contract. He doesn't want to play for the Redskins. It's kind of annoying me too, because last year it was I kind of said that at times, right when it started coming out that he was sitting out, that I felt like he wanted a new contract. He didn't actually come out and say that, and I was kind of saying that here on the channel, and people were getting very mad at me saying like, no, you're wrong. He wants a new training staff. And they kind of get a whole new staff in there, and now he wants a new contract. So it's kind of like he's playing games, and it's kind of, I had a feeling of that at the time. I think he just wants out. If he doesn't want to be there, I'd get rid of him. He didn't play this whole year. He also has injury concern. To me, if he's fully healthy and he's knocks the rust off, he very well could be the best left tackle in football. Trent Williams, that is. But no new contract, in my opinion. That's what the Redskins' side is as well. They don't want to give the new contract yet. Need an evaluation. Makes 100%. Makes a whole bunch of sense. They're somewhat in the rebuild mode. I think offensively their defense is ready to win now. So kind of what I'm getting to is, what if they have to trade Trent Williams? They can get a pick back. Left tackle being one of the more important positions in football. The free agency class outside for left tackle, specifically outside of Anthony Costanzo, is who's going back to the Colts, I would assume, is very weak. And what's very strong in the draft? Offensive tackle, left tackle. So they may have to fill that position, and a guy like Becton could be that high on their board. I think he will be a top 3 player on several boards. So that's pretty interesting to watch out for. Like I said, if I'm putting money on it, he's not going to, but I would not rule that out. So that's pretty interesting there. Next up is Sadiq Charles, who, if you've been watching mock drafts, my videos, I like Sadiq Charles. I'm pretty sure I've been higher on him than everyone else. I love what I saw from him, the athleticism. We've seen him kind of getting downfield somewhat like Tristan Works too. So we see the athleticism there. I just didn't think he would test this well, and he did. 5.06 in one of the better 10-yard splits in 1.73. Very impressive at 6'4", 321. I think the reason some people have him, have a hard time putting him in the top 50 or in the first round is because he did miss some games last year, and there are some red flags off the field. I kind of want to look into that a little more. But I think he's a great player. A big reason for, there's multiple reasons for LSU's success, quarterback play, receiver play, coaching, but offensive line was a huge one, something that goes unnoticed to some people. Sadiq Charles, left tackle, very important piece. I thought he was, some people even talking about round 3. I thought he was a lock to be a round 2 pick. Now I'd say bump it up a little bit. I'd say he's a lock to be a top 50 pick, so that's potential first round pick, but there are 5 offensive tackles that I think should be locks in the first round. So that could push him back a little bit, but he's a very good player and showed showed us his athleticism, more than everyone expected there. So he's a big time win. A lot of offensive linemen won the day. And then Cesar Ruiz from Michigan, who played center, but obviously can play guard as well. Very impressive tape. just bullies guys. The guy's been climbing up my board. 6'3", 307, runs a 5'08", 33-inch vertical and a broad jump 113. That 5'08 is an impressive number there. Before kind of top 50 pick, has a chance to go late first, but most likely would be, a second rounder, probably earlier. I think he's a first round pick. Now, looking at the guard class, which is somewhat weak in terms of the top, there's no like guard that's going to go for, that's 100%, I guess, a first round locker. There's definitely no guard that's going to go in the first, 20 picks or so, which we're kind of used to seeing. But then there was that battle between this guy, Lloyd Cushenberry, who was also a center that could play guard from LSU, Damian Lewis, who is a guard from LSU, and there's a couple other ones that had the opportunity as well, but those are the main ones there. And I think he kind of separated himself and really could be a first-round pick, and that helps big time because, those teams that are desperate for a guard, and we see how important guard is in today's NFL. Back in the day, it was pretty much just tackles. We're going to get our guards really late, and it's kind of changed since then. I look at teams. There's several teams that need guard. The Dolphins have 3 picks. You can look at their third pick in the first round. The Vikings looking for a left guard, and having that flexibility to, and I think they like Bradbury at center, but having that flexibility to, basically move, the guys around center guard because Ruiz has has experience at both. So I think they'll like that. A team like the Vikings there in the end of the first round, that's a possibility. Some other teams in there as well. But I think he has a chance to go first round because the teams that are dying to get a guard and that rather have him, and then, at the end of the first round, then their end of the second round pick, which could be, a Jonah Jackson from Ohio State, a Tyler Biadasz from Wisconsin. There is a pretty clear difference in my opinion. So teams could be ready to jump on a guy like this. So that's why he's a big winner on the day here. And then a couple running backs. Cam Akers. I loved his tape. He was in the top 5 in my running backs before this. I had him right at number 4 before the combine. I'm gonna go back and watch the tape. I already seen it, but I want to go back. I like to do that. After the combine, and I have a feeling I'm gonna bump him up even more. So much upside from Cam Akers. A very good size at 5'10", 217. That's like the ideal size for a running back. Looking at Florida State, always had to make something out of nothing with that offense line. Always getting hit in the backfield, always making big plays. A lot of time, you never got the opportunity to see, his true vision or his true, moves after the line of scrimmage because he was getting hit. But he did, break the tackles a lot, turn into big runs, can catch the ball pretty well. Ran a 4.47, which I was going to be good. It was going to be a win for me, even if it was a 4.54, we'll say. So breaks the 4.4s pretty easily, jumps 35.5. That shows explosion. That's big for running backs. I don't want to see that low-end vert. I want to see the explosiveness, and the same goes for the broad jump. 122 is a pretty good number. I thought he was going to go early third, kind of thought he had a chance to go late second, looking at teams. Maybe at the bottom of the second, teams like the Texans. I thought that was a possibility. I think he made himself a second-round pick. I would not be shocked. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if he was the first running back off the board. I really do. Being a top recruit out of high school helps too. Some teams take that seriously. Some scouts, GMs take that seriously as well. This guy should be in the case for running back 1. It's a very good running back class. You look at the guys at the top, Cam Akers could be in there now with DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, some people with Jonathan Taylor, and there's some other guys that I like as well. Zach Moss we'll talk about in a little bit. Antonio Gibson, if people like him at running back. Anthony McFarland I like. But Cam Akers had maybe as big of a combine as anybody. The drills mainly, not just the timing in the jumping. The drill is so smooth, and this guy's got a lot of upside. And then next, A.J. Dillon, big run. We know he's a big body running back. You see him working out there, though. You see the size of this guy's legs, and we see how some teams, love the big guys. They really want to get him on their team, work with him. 6 foot, 247 pounds for the big back from BC. Runs a 4.53. I would have said about a 4.60, which would have been okay for him. 4.53 is moving. Some people, people look at 40 times. There's some people out there who just think 4.5s, ain't that fast. It's fast. It's very fast, and especially when you factor in the size of this guy, ridiculous. Vertical jump, top of the line for running backs, 41 inches. Ridiculous for a guy with that big of legs. I know he's got a strong body, but to get up that high with that much weight, and the broad jump, top of the line once again for running backs, 131. So explosive. I thought he was going to be a late round pick, round 6, because people don't really want these big running backs anymore that don't have much wiggle to them, but he showed he can do that. I still think he's a day 3 guy, early day 3, round 4. I wouldn't rule out round 3, but I'm thinking around round 4. Somebody will want to work with this guy. When he first came into Boston College as a freshman, there was a lot of, future first round talk. Problem with him, if I had to point out a negative, is it seemed to come up a little more down the stretch of his career. With that size and with the athleticism for his size, you want him to be that straight runner. I know from your running back you want a little bit more, but from him, you want him to be that straight runner. And sometimes, he would miss the hole. Vision wasn't really there, but I think he always wanted to create more. I think, he trusts his quickness. He again, very athletic, but I think he trusts himself maybe a little too more, bouncing things outside. And I think he wanted to bring more to his game. And it's a negative because you want to see, vision's the most important thing. But I don't, there's a part of me that doesn't think he's just not seeing the hole. I think he just wants to bring more to his game and work on more things. And at times Boston College wasn't that great, trying to make something happen. So he has some upside. Somebody will like him a lot. I think around round 4. I really like this running back class, liking it more and more. So those are my big-time winners. Obviously, there's more winners. We talk about Jonathan Taylor running in the 4.3s. I kind of expected the low 4.4s, which was basically there. And why he isn't a bigger, he's a big winner, but why he isn't featured in this video is because these are all things I expected. He tests well. The traits are there. The thing that's kind of is going to make the difference for him, which is kind of hard to do without actual more play time, is the major concerns, the fumbling concerns, and I guess the wear and tear concerns, because he's had well over 900 carries, and we look at the past who's had that many carries, and it hasn't really worked out for those guys. The last Pro Bowler, I believe, was Ray Rice that had over 900 carries. The top tier running backs all had, almost 600 maximum carries. So that's kind of tough, but mainly the fumbling, 15 fumbles in 3 years, and you see kind of cost them in big games, cost them in the Rose Bowl, and you think of the close games, especially this year in the NFL, the close games coming out on the wire, that could cost you. So the traits, though, we see on the field here at the Combine, and we see the speed, the vision, the quickness, the elusiveness, everything is all there. It's running back 1 material. It really is. So just the concerns kind of bump him down. So he really wasn't going to help himself too much at the Combine, but he had a great day, running that 40. So that's why he's still in the winner column. But I think, he could be a top-tier running back in terms of, somebody's eyes, in terms of teams like the Chiefs. They're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to limit his carries, so limits the fumbles. But when he does get the ball, I think he will do great things. Possibly a team like the Texans, a team like the Steelers that need some speed to, split with James Conner. I think, got teams like those, possibly second or third round would be great for Jonathan Taylor. DeAndre Swift ran a pretty good 40, kind of right where I expected, me a little bit faster. But arguably the running back 1 of the class. Darrington Evans from Appalachian State had a really good day. Really smooth, faster than I thought. Really smooth in the drill, so he had a good day. Levante Bellamy is the guy that I want to go back and watch the tape. He ran a 4.5. I think it was a 4.50. Looked faster when he actually ran. Every time I'm watching guys run, I'm kind of just thinking in my head, what's his time going to be? Looked like a 4.4 guy. Was a 4.50 that's still moving. And top of the line other drills in tests. So that's the guy I want to kind of go back and watch. And then a couple of linemen, Isaiah Wilson from Georgia, who I think will be a starting right tackle, could be a second-round pick, showed his explosiveness at the Combine. And Ezra Cleveland from Boise State tested very well and everything, pretty smooth in the drills. I also like Josh Jones from Houston, too. I think it will be should be a first-round lock at the end of the first round. The Houston offensive tackle, that is. So he could be considered a winner, too. Look pretty smooth. And then guys that are losers, I hate talking about losers because I like all these guys, especially Zach Moss. I'm a big Zach Moss fan. And there is an upside to why maybe he's even on the loser section, is because, he did tweak something, I think jumping it was, doing the vertical, and that created a slower 40, and maybe not the best, day for him, which why is that somewhat of a positive is because all these guys tweak something in their hamstring and they're done. They instantly go, give me the ice, I'm sitting out. Not Zach Moss. Shows the toughness, so I love that. But at the same time, poor testing, running the 4.7s, which I really think he's truly a 4.6 guy, which still probably isn't fast enough. And that's kind of the question with him, the long speed, takes short steps, no strides, but pretty good vision, pretty good elusiveness, pretty damn strong, especially in the red zone. But the main thing here is, kind of getting hurt, even though he played through it. The question about him is durability. Has had some injuries at Utah. For the most part, stayed healthy this year, actually. But adding that to kind of already on top of, I guess, the durability concern. So it's a tough one for Zach Moss. And then Ahmed from Washington. This guy was lightning on the field. Put on one of those guys that put on some size and ran in about the 4.6s. And you expect this guy, if you would have told me, okay, this guy's going to run a 4.3 or 4.6, which one are you putting your money on? I would say 4.3, and that's a huge difference there. So that was a little disappointing. J.J. Taylor, another one I was calling kind of a Tariq Cohen clone. Reminds me a lot of Tariq Cohen. And then you look at the testing numbers. On the field they look, I still stand by that, but you look at the testing numbers and a huge difference between the two. They should be about the same. And J.J. Taylor a little underwhelming running the 4.6s. It wasn't, the quickness was there in the drills. In the drills, you look like more of the 4.4 guy, 4.3 guy, a very great 10-yard split guy. But at the same time, just the quickness was the bright spot of the drills. I thought he could have done better, maybe catching the ball. It's just quickness was the only bright spot that I saw from him. So I thought he could have done better. He's limited with his size, so he's a guy that needs to test well. Benny LeMay from Charlotte, pretty much bottom of the line of every single testing. Wasn't super impressive in the drills either, so not a good day from him, but already an expected undrafted guy. Javon Leake from Maryland, kind of known as that number 2 running back for Maryland. Anthony McFarland did have some injuries this year, but Leake, mainly why he's on here is the drills. I caught him just standing way too tall. Looks, the way he was running, the way he was standing, looked like this guy's about 6'3", 6'4", but he ain't that tall. He's just over 6 foot. Running too high up. He didn't help himself in this day. And then Trey Adams from Washington, who, if it wasn't for injuries in his past, probably be known as a second-round tackle, but at the very bottom of the line in every single drill, testing drill, and that's really not, we knew that he's not going to win with athleticism, kind of the strength, but you definitely wish every category was better. By being bottom of the line isn't really a good day there. But overall, I love the running back class. You got another guy kind of in the conversation for running back 1, that Cam Akers from Florida State, that is. And then the offensive line class, we expected to be, very good, but it feels even better. It feels like those tackles are, the 4 top tackles, that being Wirfs, in no order, Wirfs, Wills, Becton, and Andrew Thomas. We knew those were top tier guys, and then those guys kind of helped themselves even more, mainly Becton and Wirfs, so it makes it that much more interesting, that much better. And then you have a guy like Josh Jones at the end of the first round, and then you have a guy like Isaiah Wilson from Georgia, who could really, wouldn't completely shock me sliding the end of the first round. And then you look at Cesar Ruiz. That's kind of the downside of the offensive line class as a whole, is there's some good second-round guards, maybe some third-round guards, and that's about it. No good first round, no good 4th through 7th. And then Ruiz steps in and says, hold on a second. So, that's fantastic. Talk about Sadiq Charles, too, at the tackle position, underrated. So love the offensive line class. Like I talked about, the running back class, pretty impressive, too. Even guys, we knew there was like top 3 guys or so at the top, and then after that, you think it would fall apart after a few more guys. But even guys like AJ Dillon, guys like that really, even guys like Joshua Kelly, they're sneaking up, making the day 3 class that much stronger. So I love the class. Very excited for the last 2 days of the Combine. We'll be here covering it. Of course, full free agency predictions, everything. Plenty of videos on the channel. Plenty more to come. No one covers the NFL like the Goat House. So please subscribe to both channels. And then check out those links in the description for our Twitter, Instagram, podcasts, all kinds of action here at the Goat House. So please check that out. We really appreciate it. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.